Hey everyone, welcome to our new series focusing on how tooling is transforming how product teams get things done. Here at CoLabs, we're on a mission to help you and your teams get more value from these tools. Today I'm focusing on Miro and how their presentations and slides features will help you and your team save time both making presentations, getting alignment, and summarizing what's been decided. So let's dive in. Hi everyone, my name is Parveen. I'm a senior product manager and a tech career coach. And today I'm going to show you how I work with Miro to make incredible presentations. So I've just finished a great workshop, a breakthrough workshop, I would say, with my cross-functional team, where we looked at the problem space and we were really trying to understand, dig into the weeds of why we aren't getting users adopting our pet sitting app. So we get lots of downloads, but people don't then go and complete their profiles and actually look at different pets to go sit in their house. It's a great means of travel for users who want to look after pets and not have to pay for accommodation, and also for pet owners who want to be able to have their pet being comfortable at home while being looked after without having to go to something like a kennel or pet daycare. So we can see we've gone through all of these different scenarios for looking at different data points, and we've decided which ones need to be seen up front versus which ones can be seen later in the UI and in the user journey. And then we also explored with our designer on the call as well, what new screens could look like. How could we reimagine this pet sitting app to get more engagement and more onboarding? I've just had a Slack message from our head of product, Joanne, saying she wants some input from the commercial teams. And tomorrow at 2 p.m., there happens to be a commercial team wide meeting where she wants me to show all of what we talked about. So I have conveniently started some slides up here. Our company is called The Parking Lot. More sits, please. So in here, I already had a bit of a rough structure. So the purpose of the presentation, what the problem space was, what the team learned, why it matters, what we're doing about it, and then obviously input from our stakeholders, because that's going to be a really important part of this presentation, a Q&A, and then how we move forward. I've kind of skipped ahead here. I just didn't even have a placeholder yet of like why this problem space matters. So I conveniently already wrote all this down and shared it with the team. So I'm going to add this slide in. I think I can actually just drop it in, which would make life a lot easier. There we go. Okay, so it's not the same color. We'll worry about that later. So I've got the purpose of the presentation to get alignment. That's something we can just talk about on the slide. The problem space, some metrics that I shared, and what we're trying to actually do with this new iteration of the app. Why this matters. So we need to be able to solve this to obviously get our onboarding up. And then what we're going to do about it. So one of the things that we wanted to share as well in the problem space, just to jump back there, is what are the actual issues. Now, I think this is too much content for my stakeholders to read and get through, like I said, in a short presentation. So what I'm going to do instead is just keep these high level themes that I've got at the top here in my slide. So firstly, I don't need to copy and paste all this to a new software. I can just drop my frame in here. Now I've copied it, not moved it completely. So I still have the original bits that we had there, but I'm going to simplify the slide because I want to make sure I'm not losing my users or my audience's interest and just keeping them really engaged. And then the other nice thing is I'll be able to ask for their input as well. So I'm going to do a quick run through of my presentation before tomorrow so that it's ready to go. But at least I've got the placeholders here, which will be really helpful. So next we're going to talk about what we're going to do about it. Now this is where people always want to see, what's the design? Show me the designs. So I'm going to add those in. I have actually already taken a screenshot conveniently. I'm just going to add that in, and we can see that from earlier, we had this new UI that we had done with our designer. And I just wanted to keep it as it is instead of having all these bits move around. But you can also just copy the design and put it up here as well. And to test the different layouts, we're going to be doing some experimentation, and then I can share that with my users or with my audience in this meeting as well. Now, this is a thing that I think has always helped my presentations. After presenting, you hear there's lots of good comments, maybe some chatter in Slack, maybe some private chatter that we're not privy to, and we want to make sure that people are actually aligned. Now, this is not to have a gotcha moment, but rather to see who's actually on board with our plan and who's not. So this is going to be an interactive element, and it'll be really helpful to see who's on board with what we've done and maybe who's not, because perhaps there's something we've missed in our discovery or in our thought process and solution and ideation. And I can actually see who those people are and follow up with them later. It's not necessarily a call you out in the middle of a meeting kind of issue, but rather how can I get people on board and aligned so we can push this work forward? And then I've got my Q&A slide and how we move forward. So just so I can double check, what does this look like? If I go into presentation mode, I can see that we've got all of my slides. Okay, I do need to work on the design a bit, but I can do that in a second. But I also have these tools that I can make available to people. So let's say I want to have people use Post-it notes. Well, they can just add them here. Actually, there's another problem where there's too many cute pets. So how do you choose which one? Is there like a cuteness factor we can have, for example? I'm sure I've heard that from a marketing person before. Cool. And then we can carry on. And let's say that when we get to the part where I talk about the designs, I want to pass this off to my designer. As long as they're on the board, I can actually share and have them drive the slides from there instead of them saying, okay, next slide, which is a really nice collaboration tool that I love using here in Miro. Then we get our alignment. So I've already voted here, but let's say, excuse me, but let's say everyone else is now on the board and they're ready to show us just how aligned they are. They can simply drag and drop their name, their little avatar around to where they are aligned and where they might not be. Like me changing the presentation there. Okay. And then we've got some questions and answers, and we go from there. So there's a few things I still need to change, and those are branding. So I'm just going to make sure I've got that on every slide because we love a good branding moment. And I also want to make sure that I have similar coloring throughout. So I'm just going to go zoom out. And the nice thing about this is I have this wonderful feature called styles. So if I want to change the different colors, there's a brand kit that you can have. I don't have it set up at the moment, but let's say these are my colors, cool. And now everything is more uniform, except for these two slides. I really want them to stand out as the problem space. So that's ready to go. Cool. Well, I'd love to know from you how you manage your presentations in Miro. If you've taken anything away from this, great. I'd love to know how you've used it. And if there's anything that you'd like to see next, please let us know. See you next time.